This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So yesterday we are seeing how to read multiple records from the database table. Right. So how to read multiple records from the database table. And we also discussed how to use AND operator, OR operator, IN operator in the where class of select query. And at the end, we have discussed about the new OpenSQL statement where we need not declare, we need not do any static declarations for internal tables and work area. We can go for inline declarations, that is, dynamically the internal table and work area gets created. That's what we have discussed at the end. Now let us see how to read a range of input values. How to read a range of values as input from the user. So we already know if you use parameter statement, it generates a selection screen for reading what? A value. Now on the same selection screen, I want to read the range of values as user input. So something like this. Suppose if I go to Abap dictionary, try to understand. If I go to Abap dictionary, if you go to SC11, let us take any table. Like if I take VBAK table, sales document, header data. We have a table called a sales document header data. What are the key fields here? MANDT and VBLN. MANDT is what? A client field here. And VBLN is what? A sales document number. MANDT and VBLN. Okay. So if I go to the contents of this particular table, right? Yeah, you can number of entries are what? 15,000 records. Okay, so you can see here, this is nothing but reading what? Range of values as user input. I can give the lower limit and upper limit here. Suppose I want to see all the sales orders between 1000 to 1005. Sales, we have a, what is the key field here? VBLN, sales document number, character of 10. So if I go to contents, overall we have 15,000 records. I'll give the sales document number as 1000. This is lower limit. I'll take sales document number as 1010. This is upper limit. So between this lower limit and upper limit, I want to read the range of sales document. So if you see the number of entries, there are 0 entries. So there are no sales orders with this range. I'll give something 4980 to 4987. 4980 to 4987. So if you see the number of entries, 7 entries are there. So when I execute, yeah, you can see between 80 to 87, I got the data. Okay, so to read the user input, to read range of values as user input, we have a statement called as select options. If I use parameters, we know that it generates a selection screen for reading what? Single value. So let us use select option, which will generate the selection screen for reading what? Range of values. So in this particular table, we have some fields here. Okay, you can see here we have some fields here like VBLN, which is character of 10. We have a field VKORG. What is this here? Sales organization. VKORG. It is sales organization. Okay, similarly, I am having another field NETWR. NETWR. If I search, understood, I can click on the find button. We have a field called as NETWR, which is currency field, currency of 15. What is this? A net value of the sales order. Okay, so if I go to contents, I want to filter the data on NETWR, right? So we have around how many fields? Around 150 plus fields. I'm able to see only few fields here. Now I want to filter the data based on NETWR. Do we have that field here? No. So as I have shown you, how do you change this selection screen view? Choose the menu settings, fields for what? Selection. Yeah, these are the selected fields. What is the field I want? NETWR, net value. Okay, I'll continue. So you can see here I got the NETWR. So I want to see all the sales orders whose net value is between 2 lakhs to 2 lakhs 25,000. So I'll say something 2 lakhs. This is lower limit. Okay. And I'll give the upper limit 2 lakhs something 25. So between this, what? Okay. So between this, I want the data. So how many records are there? 6 records. So when I execute, these are the sales orders whose net value is between what? 2 lakhs to 2 lakhs 25. Okay, so keeping this range in mind, so I want a report like this. So when I execute my program, understood, when I execute my program, I should get a selection screen where I have to read the what? Range of what? Sales orders as input. We have to read the range of sales orders as input. I have to give the lower limit and upper limit. So when I execute the selection screen, I should retrieve the data from the what? VBAK table. Okay, what columns I want to retrieve. So since what is the input I am giving? Range of values. So obviously you may have multiple records. No? So if you want to read multiple records, yesterday we have seen we have to take an internal table and you have to say into table. So what are the fields I want to retrieve? 5 fields. Sales document number, 3 fields. Sales document number, sales organization, and net value. Okay, so out of 150 plus fields, I want to retrieve some 3 fields. One is VBLN, nothing but sales document number. Another is what? VKORG, sales organization. What is the other field I want to retrieve? NETWR, net value of the sales order, which is currency date time. So what is the user input here? I have to enter the range of what? Sales order net value as user input. Between that range, I should get the data. How many fields I have to retrieve? 3 fields. So since I'm going to retrieve multiple records, obviously I should go for what? Internal table. Okay, so this is the overall requirement. Any questions so far? Okay, so let us see how to read the range of input values. So I'll go to ABAP editor. What is the last program? 47. 47. So I'll go for 48. Reading range of what? Input values. Reading range of input values. So this is done by using what? Select option statement. Type of program is what? Executable program. I'll save it in the local update. Right. So say this. So if I use parameters, okay. So what is that I want to read? Net value, na? Understood. I want to refer to a field NEWR. So if I use parameters, I'll say parameters p underscore netwr type what vbak hyphen netwr. Already we know how to refer to the database fields. I can refer to table name hyphen field name, or I can refer to what data element. So p underscore netwr type vbak hyphen netwr. So when I execute this parameter statement, when I execute, it will generate what selection screen where I can input only one value. But what is the requirement here? I want to input what? A range of input values. I want to input range of values, lower limit to upper limit. So how do we input range of values? I should go for a statement called as select options. Okay. So here I'll say select options. Okay. And select option generally you'll start with SO. So select options SO underscore netwr. Okay. For parameters, we use type. Here you have to use for. Select options SO underscore netwr for which field you want to refer VBAK hyphen netwr. So save it, check for the syntax. Yeah, I got an error in the third line. What is that? Field VBAK hyphen netwr is unknown. It is neither in one of the specified tables nor defined by the data statement. So I'm trying to declare a select option variable referring to a database field, but whatever the database field I'm referring as part of the declaration, it is saying that unknown. So if it is a parameter, it would have worked fine, but select option, it is not recognizing that. So as part of select option, if you are referring to any database structure, a table is also a collection of fields. Table is also what? A structure kind of thing. So as part of select option declaration, if you are referring to any database structure, that database structure we need to declare by using what? Tables keyword. Okay. So whatever the database structure we are referring in the select option declaration, it has to be declared by using what keyword? Tables keyword. So tables what? VBAK. So save it, check for the syntax. I don't have any errors. Execute. When I say F8, yes, I got the selection screen where I can input what? Range of what? Range of input values. Lower limit and what? Upper limit. Okay, so what is the point here? As part of select option declaration, if we are referring to any database structure, that database structure needs to be declared explicitly by using what? Tables keyword. So what this tables statement will do? This tables statement will create what? Work area. Creates work area based on what? VBAK structure. Understood? This VBAK structure, a table is also a collection of fields only. Na? So this VBAK table, which is nothing but a kind of structure, has got how many fields? 156 fields. So internally, what this tables statement will do? It will create a work area based on what? VBAK structure. So I repeat once again, as part of select option declaration, if you are referring to any database structure, it can be a standard structure or a custom structure. Okay, that structure has to be declared explicitly by using what? Tables keyword. What this tables keyword will do internally, it creates a work area based on all these VBAK fields. VBAK has got how many fields? Around 150 plus fields. So internally it creates a work area with all the fields. We are referring to only one field, but unnecessarily a work area gets created based on what? All the fields. Understood? So something like this, it will create a work area internally. So internally, what happens is it creates a work area based on what? A VBAK, something like this. Okay, how many fields are there? 150 plus fields. What is the first field? MANDT, next WebLAN. Like this, with all the fields till the last field, it creates a work area. Am I clear? So one of the field would be what? NET WR. Somewhere here I'm at a what? NET WR field. So just because of that field, unnecessarily a work area gets created with all the 150 plus fields, which is a performance issue. No? So that is the reason it is recommended not to declare the select option with this approach. Okay, in this approach, what is the issue? What are the database structure we are referring as part of the declaration? That structure needs to be declared explicitly by using tables keyword, which will internally create a work area. So this is what? Case 1 for declaring what? Select options. That's it. So this is creates work area based on what? VBAK structure. This is not recommended. Why? Because unnecessarily a work area is getting what? Created. So how do we avoid this tables keyword is, see this. Case 2 for declaring what? Select options. So what I'll do is, what is the target field you want to refer? NETWR. What is the input you have to read? Range of what? Net value. VBAK structure. In that, what is the field I have to refer? NETWR. So I'll declare one program variable data v underscore NETWR type VBAK-NETWR. Understood? You declare a variable referring to the target structure field. Then here, while declaring the select options, you refer to the program variable instead of referring to the structure directly. Refer to the program variable. Earlier, what I did as part of declaration directly, we are referring to the structure. Here, I am referring to the program variable. For that, the program variable got declared by referring to what? The target structure field. So now here, I did not use any tables keyword. I did not create any work area internally. So when I execute this, what happened? See, I got the selection screen with the same approach. So this is the recommended way for declaring what? Select options. What is that recommendation? You declare a variable referring to the target structure field, then declare the select options referring to that particular program variable so that we can avoid the usage of tables keyword explicitly. Yeah, any questions up to this point? Right. So based on this select options declaration, internally SAP creates an internal table. I repeat, based on the select option declaration, SAP internally creates what? An internal table. What is the structure of that internal table? It contains 4 fields: sign, option, low, I. Sign, option, low, and what? I. So something like this. Internally, SAP creates an internal table based on the select options declaration. Okay, something like this. You can see here, it creates an internal table with what? 4 fields: sign, option, low, and what? I. Sign, option, low, I. What are the possible values for the sign I and E? I means what? Inclusive, which is default value. E means exclusive. Option will have different values like BT. BT is what by default between. Then you'll have other values like less than or equal to, greater than equal to, less than, greater than, like that. And low will have hold the lower limit. I will hold the upper limit. Right. So here also what happens here? This internal table will be created by SAP internally based on the select option structure. So if you want, you can see here. I'll try to debug. Observe this. Right. Something hello. So save it, check for the syntax, done. Okay, I'll put the breakpoint here. I'll put the breakpoint. So when I execute, I assume that I'll give the lower limit as something 4990. I'll give the upper limit as something 4995. Okay, one is lower limit, another is upper limit. So when I execute, so based on the select option declaration, what happens internally, SAP will create an internal table. So if you see the select options, observe here. SO underscore NETWR, if you see, what is this? It has created one internal table. Understood? They have created, uh, an internal table. This symbol indicates what? Internal table with header. This cap indicates with header, default header. So see this internal table here. It has got one entry because I gave one range there. Na? So if you see the contents, you can see what are the four fields here. Sign, option, low and what? I. Sign, option, low and I. Sign is character of 1, option is character of 2, low is what? Pack of 8, decimal 2, I is pack of 8, decimal 2. So what is the default value for sign? I. I means what? Inclusive. Inclusive means what? It will read the values from the lower limit to upper limit, including this low value and I value. Option means what? BT by default. So this is a internal table created by SAP internally based on the select option declaration. By default, SAP creates an internal table. What is the structure of that internal table? Always sign, option, low and what? I. Sign, option, low and I. Am I clear? So when I execute, I'll say F8. I got say what? Hello. Right? Let me try to enter multiple range. This is one range you assume. Okay. This is one range. I'll click on multiple selection. Right. So select ranges. Already we have entered what? Lower limit and upper limit. I'll enter another range. Let me enter something 5010 to something 5018. 5010 to 5018. When I execute, okay, I'll click on what? Execute button. Yeah, if I go to desktop 3, so you can see here what is the select option here. It has created an internal table. How many entries? I got two entries now. How many fields? Four fields. Sign, option, low and I. Since I entered two ranges, I got this. So when I click on this, you can see here IBT is a default for inclusive. This is one range. This is another range. So basically, a select option is nothing but what? An internal table created in the runtime. Created in the runtime. Always it contains four fields: sign, option, low and what? I. Okay, so that's what I represented here. Based on the select option declaration, SAP will create what? An internal table, something like this. Okay, right. So my requirement now is when I execute, I got the selection screen. I want to provide some default values for this. So if you want to provide default list for parameter, use default option. So here also, understood? I'll say I can do like this, right? Or since I want the default values, I'll say what is that? Default. NETWR is what field here? It is a currency field which comes under what? Numeric only. So since it is numeric, I will not give any single quotes. I'll give something 49802 4985. 49802 4985. This is the way to give the default values. So save it, check for the syntax, execute. So when I save it, I got the default values. Am I clear? So if you want to enter multiple ranges, I can click on what? This multiple selection. This is a default range I can enter multiple ranges. Understood? Okay, so 49802 to 4985. I'll give another range, something 5000 to 5010. Am I clear? So between this range, I want to exclude one value. So what I can do, I can click on this button, what? Exclude single. Between 80 to 85, I don't want 83. So what I'll do, I'll say exclude single value. Here I'll give what? 49, what? 83. Am I clear? So between this range, it will exclude that value. And suppose between 5000 to 5010, I don't want between 5002 to 5005. I can give that range here, exclude range. Okay, I want a separate value also. Suppose I want 5025 also. Like this, I can give multiple combinations here. Is it clear? I can execute, I'll get the data. That's it. So by default, you'll have this button where the user can enter multiple ranges, add some separate values, exclude ranges, all those things. Okay, am I clear? If you don't want that, if you want to restrict the user to always enter a single range, if you want the user to enter always single range, I should not give the option to the user to enter multiple ranges, to add separate values, to exclude a value, or to exclude some ranges. What I'll do as part of select option declaration, I will use the addition called as no extension, right? So when I execute this F8, what happened here? I'll not get that button. Always the user can enter only one range. He cannot add multiple ranges. He cannot add single values or exclude a value or exclude some ranges. Am I clear? So all these are options. Understood. So based on the select option declaration, always SAP creates an internal table which has got four fields: sign, option, low, and I. Sign will have the default values are I. I means what? Inclusive. It will take the values between lower limit and what? Upper limit. Yeah. Any questions up to this point? Okay, what is the next agenda here? So when we click on that execute button on the selection screen, what is the event triggered? Start of selection. So in the start of selection, let us get the data. So what is the data I want? Anyhow, we are going to retrieve multiple records. No? When I'm comparing with the range, obviously I may get one or more values. So I require internal table. My internal table should contain how many fields? Three fields: sales document number, sales organization, net value. Understood? What I can do? I can declare a type structure, with these three fields. Based on the type structure, I can declare the internal table and work area. Am I clear? Otherwise, you go for what? A new OpenSQL statement where I can go for inline declarations. The internal table and work area gets created in the runtime dynamically. Okay, so I'll go for new OpenSQL. It's my wish whether you want to go for static or new OpenSQL. So I'll directly say select. So in new OpenSQL, the fields should be separated with comma. Na? Should be separated with comma. Okay, 1 second. Right. What is this? Select what? What are the fields you want to retrieve? Sales document number, sales organization, net value. So select VBLN, comma, VKORG, that is sales organization, and NETWR. From which table? From VBAK table into table. Okay, at the rate data of what? I tab. I'm going for what? Inline declaration, or you give a meaningful internal table name. Let me get as T underscore VBAK, where I have to compare with what? I'm entering what? Range of net values. So I have to compare with NETWR, na? Where NETWR. Already we know if you're comparing with a single value, if you're comparing with parameters, we use equal to, right? Yesterday we have seen if you're comparing with set of values, we have to use in operator. Na? Yesterday we have seen this. Okay. Similarly, for select option also is a range of values. No? So that is in operator. In here also I'll say at the rate. What is the select option name? SO underscore NET WR. Understood? So this internal table gets created dynamically with how many fields? 3 fields. So whenever you are comparing with the select option, you have to use what? In operator. We have to use in operator when you're comparing with set of values or even with what? Select options. Let's see whether it works or not. Save it, check for the syntax, no errors. How do you check whether select is successful or not? If if the select is successful, size of bars is what? 0. I'll say right. Number of records retrieved. Number of records retrieved is what? Psi db count. Understood? Number of records retrieved psi db count. I have to loop and display now. Okay, I have to loop and display. Okay, so let me loop the internal loop at what is the internal table which gets created dynamically t underscore vbak. For looping, I require a work area. So I'll go for inline declaration into data w underscore vbak. I'll display it, right? So in the loop statement, I should not use this at the rate. We call it an escape symbol, right? What is that? W underscore VBAK hyphen VBLN W underscore VBAK hyphen. What is the other field? Sales organization W underscore VBAK hyphen NETWR and loop else. I'll give the message no data. No data. End for if is what? End if. Done. Save it. Check for the syntax. Fine. When I execute this, okay, this is one range. I cannot enter multiple range because I use addition what? No extensions. If you want to change the values, you can change. 49802, I'll say 4995. So when I execute, number of records retrieved is what? Only 5. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm giving the net value, na? So I'll give the range as something 1 lakh 2. Understood? I'll give the value as 1 lakh 2. I'll say something 1 lakh what 50,000. So between this range, I want the net sales orders. So when I execute, how many I got? 882. So if you go to SC11 also, right? If I go to contents, I'll filter based on any WR. I'll say between 1 lakh to 1 lakh 50,000. How many entries are there? Yes, 882. Here also I got the same thing, na? 882. I got the sales document number. This is sales organization and this is net value. I got the net value. Is it clear? So I want to sort it based on what? Net value. So sort what is the internal table T underscore VBAK by NETWR. Okay, I'm sorting it based on NETWR. So when I execute, no data. Why? Because I gave the data range like this. I'll say 1 lakh to something, 1 lakh 60,000. So when I execute, I got the data. How many entries? 971. So I can say I got it according to the ascending order of net value. So point you have to focus in this program is how do you read range of values as a user input by using what? Select option, and we understood multiple ways of declaring the select options. And again, I'm using the new OpenSQL statement. Whenever you're comparing the select option, I have to use what? In operator. If I don't use new extension, we'll have that button on in the selection screen where the user can enter multiple ranges, add additional values, all those things. Yeah, any questions?
Sir,
Yes, I.
what is the use of that internal table, sir, for select options? We have
What
sign option.
means I didn't get you.
when select options is declared, one internal table is created now, sir. With four.
Internally, yes. Yeah.
Yes. What is the use of that sign and options?
Sign and option. Yeah, you'll understand that. Okay. So what are the boxes we are seeing here? This is lower limit and upper limit. Am I clear? So let me give the default values here. I'll not give this value. I'll give 1 lakh to how much? 1 lakh 50,000. Here also 1 lakh 50,000. I'll give 1 lakh. Save it. So by default, what is this? Inclusive. So when I execute this, observe here, even 1 lakh also it has considered. Now, what is the lower limit I gave? 1 lakh to 1 lakh 50,000. So there are some sales orders whose net value is 1 lakh. It is still taking that 1 lakh also. No? So that is the meaning of inclusive, from lower limit to upper limit. It will consider the lower limit value as well as upper limit value. What is the upper limit I gave? 1 lakh 50,000. Do you have any sales order with 1 lakh 50,000? If I scroll down, right, I'm scrolling down. Yeah, you can see here. It has even taken what 1 lakh 50,000. That is the meaning of I. I means what? Inclusive. Inclusive. Okay. So this is one way of doing this. By default, if I use this syntax, I cannot change that sign value. Okay, I'll make a changes now. I'll copy this 48 to 49. 48 to 49. So what is the change I'll do now? See this. I'll go for this syntax only, right? So I'll go for select option so and so, default so and so. If you want to give no extension, you give it, otherwise leave it. So I'll not give any default value here, but I'll say what? No extension. So that I can restrict the user to enter only what? Single range. So when I execute, I got it. Now the user has to enter the lower limit and upper limit. Okay. So to earlier case, to provide the default value, right? To provide the default value, I use what? Default addition, right? I can do like this. Already we know what is the first event triggered before displaying the selection screen, initialization event. Na? So what I'll do, I'll handle initialization event. Understood? Initialization event. Now I'll say, as part of this initialization event, I'll say so underscore netwr hyphen sign equal to, I'll say E. E means what? Exclusive. E means exclusive. So underscore netwr hyphen option equal to, I'll say BT. That is between. I'll say so underscore netwr hyphen low equal to, I'll give what? 1 lakh. Okay. So underscore netwr hyphen I equal to 1 lakh 50,000. Okay. So this data will be assigned to the work area of the select option structure. How do you copy to the body of the select option internal table? Append so underscore netwr. Am I clear? So what is the sign value I gave here? E. E exclusive. So when I execute this, okay, I got the default value here 1 lakh to 1 lakh 50,000. I got this symbol. What is this here? Do not select include range. Let me say when I execute, yeah, what is, oh, acha, acha, it has taken like that. So how do I cover this? So understood. Inclusive means what? From lower limit to upper limit. Am I clear? So what is that I gave here? 1 lakh to what? 1 lakh 50,000. Okay, so except this range, it will give the rest of the values. So when I execute, this symbol indicates what? Do not select this included range. When I execute, you can see here what is that I got? Except that range between 1 lakh to what? Means I'll get the data till 99,999 and I'll get the data after what? 1 lakh 50,000. So after 1 lakh 50,000 also I got some data. Okay, so might be there negative values. That's why it is showing that hyphen symbol there. Is it clear? So it has It is giving those values except that particular range. How many values it has given? Some 14,000 what, so and so. Is it clear? 14,451. If you see the table here, so between this range, how many am I having? 882. 882. Okay, so if you see a VBAK table here, overall, how many entries are there in this VBAK? If you go to the VBAK table, I'll remove this range. In the VBAK table, I'm having what? 15 what? 1,333. 15,333. Okay, so 15,333. Between in the VBAK table, between 1 lakh to what? 1,50,000, right? How many entries are there between this range? Okay, let me cross check once again. So in the VBAK table, I'll give what? 1 lakh to 1,50,000, right? So when I see the number of entries, how many are there? 882. 882 is the number of entries. Okay, 882. Okay, so if you see this, what? I'll calculate the difference here. What is that? 15,333 minus what? 882 equal to how much? 14,451. Understood? Between, okay, the value is how much? 14,000 what? 452. That's what the result I got, na? Right? So if you see here, 14,451. Sorry, 14,451. Okay, that's what the count also I got it, na? In my report, how much I got? Excluding that range. So E means what? Except this range. Except this range, it will give the values whose sales order net value is below 1 lakh, and it will give those sales orders whose net value is what? After 1 lakh 50,000. Hope this is clear. Sai, is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the meaning of exclude. This is another way of providing the default values. I can handle initialization even if I don't provide this. If I don't provide this too, what happens here? It will take the sign value by default as what? Inclusive. So when I execute F8, okay, I'll execute this. What is that I got? 882. The default value for sign is what? Inclusive. That is the meaning of inclusive and exclusive. Right. Any queries? Yes, any other questions? Similar to this select options, okay, we have ranges. So I'll just copy this 49 to 50. Right. So what I'll do here, instead of select options, I'll go for something called as ranges. So for ranges, I can directly, yeah, I'll say ranges. I'll give the name as something R underscore NDWR for so and so. Yeah, I think for ranges, I can directly refer to the field without any tables keyword. I'll say ranges R underscore so and so for VBAK. Observe this carefully. I'll just comment this. I'm not using any initialization directly in the start of selection. So what is the difference between select options and ranges is select option will generate the selection screen for reading the range of input values from the user, but ranges will not generate any selection screen. Ranges will not generate any selection screen. So see here, I'll directly say where NETWR in R underscore what? R underscore NETWR. Okay, so what is the only change I have done? Instead of select options, I used what? Ranges. But ranges will not generate any selection screen. So if it is not generating the selection screen, user cannot input the values. Na? Let me clear. User cannot input the values. Within the program only we have to give the values. But as of now, I have not given. So when I execute, see the problem here. When I execute, I don't any syntax error. When I execute, oh, I got the data. Na? Yeah, I got the data, but what is happening here? Number of records retrieved is what? 15,000 what? Triple three. Okay, the overall number of entries are also same. Na? In the table, the overall number of entries are what? 15,000 triple three. But what is the use here? Right? Ranges means what? I should able to enter the range. So is it generating any selection screen? No. It is pulling all the records. So what I have to do is, directly in the what? Start of selection only. Yeah, directly in the start of selection, I'll prepare the values. Okay, so see this change here, right? So here only directly in the what program itself, I need to append the values. What is that? R underscore so and so, R underscore so and so. Okay, so this is one range I'm getting. But see the problem here. In case of select option, you'll have default values for sign and option. Na? You'll have default values for sign and option. But ranges doesn't have any default values for sign and option. See what happens now. I'm giving the lower limit and upper limit. What is that? Append what? Ranges is also an internal table in the runtime. What is the structure of the ranges? It also will contain the same four fields. Sign, option, low, and what? I. So save it. Check for the syntax. No errors. Done. So when I execute, what happened here? I got a runtime error. What is this? Invalid value in what? Sign field. Because you don't have default value for sign. In case of select option, you'll have the default value for sign as what? I. I means what? Inclusive. But here, I'll not any default values for sign field. That's why it is giving the runtime error. Invalid value in sign field. So it is giving the runtime error when executing the select query. So in the program, when I'm executing the select query comparing with the range, it is giving me the runtime error. Invalid value in what? Sign field. So this combination will lead to what? A runtime error. If you give like this is case one, leads to what? A runtime error as no value assigned for what? Sign field. You will not have the default value. So to avoid this runtime error, what I'll do now? According to the error, I got the runtime error for the sign field. So what I'll do now? So sign will have only two values, either what? I or E, inclusive or exclusive. So I'll say R underscore NEW or hyphen sign equal to I. I means what? Inclusive. It will take from what? Lower limit to upper limit. So let's see whether we'll get the result or not. So when I execute, I'm getting a different runtime error now. What is the error I got now? See, what is that? Invalid value in what? Option field of value table. What is the default value for option in case of select option? BT, na? That is between. But here you don't have a default value for option. That's why it is leading to what? Runtime error. So what is the runtime? Has no value assigned for what? What? Option field. So this case also would give what? Runtime error. So what is that thing I have to do now? Yes, you assign case 3. What you have to do? We have to prepare ranges internal table content. Am I clear? So here I'll also provide the value for what? Option. Option equal to also what? BT. This is one range. Okay, so when I execute now, yeah, I got how many entries? 882. Like this, I can enter what? Multiple ranges. Since it doesn't generate any selection screen, within the program only, I can enter what? Multiple ranges. I'll give something 1,75,000 to what? Something 1,95,000. So this is another range. Another range. So when I execute, yeah, how many I got? 1,042. Okay, so when do we go for ranges and when do we go for select option is the difference. What you have observed, select option will generate a selection screen where the user has to give the input range, whereas ranges will not generate any selection screen. If you want to execute your report for a fixed range, we'll go for what? Ranges. Am I clear? So within the program only, we have to prepare the ranges. Understood? So this will always work for this range only. If you want the user to input the range, we'll go for select option. But if your customer says that always this report should execute for only so and so range, we'll go for what? Ranges. So there are the two differences. What is that? Select option will generate selection screen, whereas ranges will not generate any selection screen. Okay. What is the other difference? Uh, in case of select option, you'll have default list for sign in option. In case of ranges, we don't have any default list for sign in option. Okay, we have to provide it explicitly within the program. In case of select option, user will have the provision to enter multiple ranges in the runtime. But in case of ranges, the developer itself has to prepare what? Multiple ranges. Okay, so if you see that folder which I am sharing from few days, we can go through that, the differences, select options and what? Ranges. Am I clear? So difference between select options and ranges, something like this. Select option generates what? Selection screen for reading the user input. Ranges doesn't generate any selection screen. In case of select options, you'll have default is for sign in option. In case of ranges, explicitly we need to provide the values. In case of select option, user can enter multiple ranges and selection screen itself. In case of ranges, multiple ranges needs to be appended in the ranges internal table in the program itself. There are the differences between select options and ranges. Yes, any questions? So this is about the ranges and select options. And in case of ranges declaration, I need not declare the structure by using tables keyword. But in case of select option, you'll get the syntax error. So we have to use tables keyword, which is not recommended. So I went for what? Other syntax for declaring the select options. Any questions? I don't know. Strength is very less. Day by day, people are not attending. But I have taken the concern of everyone and I have shifted this batch few days, morning 6:15. Okay, but most of them are not attending. So even if you're not attending, please refer to the recordings. I've shifted these timings only after taking the concern of everyone. And for the next few weeks, I'll continue in the same time slot. So those who are absent, those who are not attending the live sessions, at least please try to refer to the recording before you start practicing. Otherwise, you will develop negative impact on myself also. Okay, so I have taken the concern of everyone. Then only I shifted this batch for a few weeks in the morning hours. Okay. Sure then. So we'll continue same time tomorrow. I thought of starting at 6 o'clock, but I am unable to start. I'll try to start by before 6:10. So tomorrow we'll continue. Any questions before I log off?
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yes, I.
Sir, we have sign field for to include or exclude, but what is the use of this option field, sir? Between means?
Between means from this to this. Okay. Understood. You anyhow going forward, I'll in the reporting I'll cover the other values also. Option, what are the
Oh,
possible values? LT less than, greater than, what all the values. So if you see this, I have drafted here. BT, LE greater than, less than, greater than, something like that. So I'll cover these values going forward, but you can also try from your end. Okay.
okay, sir.
Suppose if you see the documentation, any documentation available, I'll press F1. Yeah, it has opened some documentation. So see here, yeah, assign option low and high. Yeah, not much here. I'll check the documentation for select options. Yeah. See, option of type C and length 2. Option contains the select option for the condition of the row in the form of relational operators. Valid operators are many are there. EQ, NE, GE, GT, LE, LT, compare, okay, not compare. If column I is initial and BT, if column I is not initial, for the option C that, okay, this will come later on, but any example they gave here? Scroll down. Yeah, there are no, okay. They didn't give much explanation. Anyway, I'll cover that other options. By default, it is BT. So somewhere in the reporting part, I'll cover the other values like less than, greater than. Okay, what you do is as a practice in the program itself, you give that values. Okay, in the initialization event, I gave this E, na, so give it as I. You give the other values for option like LE greater than. Okay, or just to understand the concept, instead of taking the standard table, you take one employee table, maintain some columns like employee number, employee name, salary. You try to filter based on the salary. Okay, then you'll have more clear. But anyhow, in the reporting part, somewhere when you're discussing one type of report, control based reporting, somewhere there, I'll be covering the other values for the option. But till that time, if you want to try, you can just try. Just replace this BT with other values, then analyze the output. So for better analysis, I suggest go for the custom table so that you'll have less amount of data. You can analyze it easily, right? I'll cover it, Sai. Going for it, I'll cover. But you try. If you have any issues, you drop me a mail before that. I'll reply to that. Yeah. Any other doubts? Sure then. So I'll wind off. We'll continue tomorrow. Okay.